To use Excel effectively and efficiently, it's important to understand the difference between absolute and relative cell references. In this video, I want to cover the relative references. In this spreadsheet, I have for each animal shelter, their first and second half expenses for the year. I want to calculate the yearly expenses here. So I'm going to use the sum function for that. And I'm going to add the first and second half here. Notice the formula is C4 to D4. So I'm going to press enter and I'm going to copy that down. Notice that it automatically calculates the numbers, and if I double check, these look accurate. So again, in the first cell we have C4 to D4. In the second cell, it's C5 to D5, C6 to D6, and so on. If you look at that, it's changing only the row reference. That's because these are relative cell references, and as you copy them down the column, it will change the cell reference according to how you have copied it. So the relative cell reference changes relative to how you copy it. For this example of the shelters, we want that row reference to change each time the cell is copied down so that it pulls in the expenses for each particular shelter. In this case, we copied the formula from one row down to the next row. Since we copied it from one row to the next, Excel is going to change only the row reference, which is the number. If we were to copy the formula over to the next column, then it will change only the letters, which are the column references. Let's look at another example for total expenses for the next year. We're going to estimate that based on the total expenses for this year and the percent increase that we estimate for next year. So our formula will be that it's equal to the total expenses times the 2%. That gives us only the amount of the increase, so we have to add that back to the total expenses. So notice our formula is E4 times F4, and then we're adding that back to the total expenses because this is just the amount of the increase. Now it's formatting it as percentages, so let's go back in and format that as accounting format with no decimal places. And we'll copy that down to the rest of the column. And you can double check these and do a logic test to make sure that these look accurate. For the cell references, notice that it's taking E4 times F4, that's the amount of the increase, and adding it back to E4 to get the total estimated expenses. In the next cell, it's changed the row reference to 5, and then it's changed it to 6, 7, 8, and so forth. So again, these are relative cell references, and as you copy it from one row to the next, it changes the row reference in the formula, and it changes it for each cell that you are using in the formula. So to recap, relative cell references are those that are just plain cell references. If you know anything about absolute references, which are in a different video, those have dollar signs. So relative cell references are those that are just plain, and as you copy the formula down, it will change the cell reference in the formula relative to how you copy it.